Alright boys, so the day 1 raid is upon us. It's literally happening tomorrow at reset. And in today's video, I want to show you guys the builds that I'm bringing into the day 1 raid. There's going to be no gameplay here. I'm just going to swap through my loadouts and show you my exotics, my fragments, and my armor mods and stuff like that. So no gameplay. Eventually I will get to breaking down these builds one by one in individual videos. But since the day 1 raid is so close, I just want to show you guys, give you guys some guidance in case you're not sure what to bring. So I am a Warlock. This is the class I'm bringing into the raid. It's probably my best class. I have the best builds for it. So let's go ahead and start it off with my first build, which is a Necrotic grip and glaive build. Now you've probably seen a lot of videos on this build. You've probably seen a lot of people running it out in the wild. It is a really powerful ad clearing build because you can consume your shackle grenade. You can use the glaive, which will proc necrotic grips. It'll kill everything. It'll spread that suspend around and just hold everything in the air, making quick work of everything. So we can go over and actually look at all of my fragments and all of my aspects and mods and everything. So here are my fragments. Scroll down a little bit. Here's the first set of mods. Let me see if I can just go down just a little more. Here's everything that I'm using on my helmet, my legs, my arms, and my bond. And lastly, my chest piece. And here are the weapons I have. I believe I can change up what exactly weapon. Like I would like to use Witherhoard for this, but if I need to use a different heavy or even a different elemental glaive, I can. But volatile rounds are just crazy this season, so I have double void weapons on. Of course, if they're different shields and everything, I will end up switching this around. And I know you guys like to see my fashion, so we can just go ahead and go down, look at that really quickly. Here are all of my ornaments and my shaders. So hope you guys like this. I really like this fashion a lot too. It looks really, really cool. So next up, we're gonna go to the build that I'm probably gonna go into the raid with initially, which is my Felwinter's helm build. Now I've talked about this a little bit, but I haven't made a video on it. This build is very, very fun. I love this build a lot, and it was actually just me messing around with some exotics that I had never really used, which is Felwinter's helm, and I ended up falling in love with this build. It is so good, being able to weaken everything. It's a 30% debuff. That's like tractor cannon and tether. Felwinter's helm can do that, of course not as easily because you got to get a melee kill on an enemy, and there has to be other enemies nearby in order for them to get weakened in the first place. But it's still a really powerful debuff, and especially now that enemies are spawning in much bigger groups, you just get one kill on one enemy in that group with a melee, and boom, the entire group is weakened. And if you have consumed your shackle grenade, then they become suspended as well. So we can actually take a look at my fragments for this build. Here's everything that I'm using. Here are all of my mods. I'm really focusing on trying to use mine in Carl a lot, which is why I went with double kinetic surge. Again, if I need to change this around for like a boss or something like that, I can. If I want to use void weapon surge or arc weapon surge, whatever I end up using. So here are all of my mods. I'll scroll down a little bit more. And I hope you guys like this build. I will definitely be making a video on this one specifically because I'm having tons of fun with this build. And of course, let's go ahead and look at my fashion while we're here. I went with a fashion based on Bloodborne, the hunters in Bloodborne. And I think I pulled it off pretty well. I really, really like this fashion. All right, so let's see what's next on the list. We're gonna go ahead and go with this Lunafactions build. Now, I typically don't use Lunafactions unless it's for a DPS phase that you need to reload very, very quickly. Lunafactions are really good when everyone's grouped up inside your Well of Radiance. They get that increase in reload speed, which is good for like rockets with Clown Cart, or even just grenade launchers, linears, whatever you'll need to use. Lunafactions will help with that. So I don't know what weapons I'm going to use for this. Probably Witherhoard. This is just filler right now, so the weapons aren't important. But you definitely want to have Lunafactions, and I have triple 100 resilience, 100 recovery, and 100 discipline. My intellect doesn't matter because I'm also using Font of Wisdom, which is how I'm going to get my well back. And we can just take a look at all of my fragments. I haven't finished my fashion for this build yet. I just put it together, so this is really, really ugly. I just put together this build because I'm probably not even going to use it because Starfire exists, and if there's a DPS phase, I'll probably be using that, but it doesn't hurt to have a Lunafactions build ready to go, just in case that's what you need. So let's go ahead and take a look at my fragments for this, using Healing Rift, Fusion Nades because they're insane, all the embers right here, and here are all the mods that I'm using. Let me scroll down just a little bit more. Lunafactions, of course, here are all the mods. Okay, if you can screenshot this if you want to recreate this build. We can just go down a little bit more so you can see the rest of these mods. Boom, there you go. And here are my weapons. Again, these are just fillers. I'm not sure what weapons I'm going to use for this build. Now next up, let's go ahead and talk about my void build. I actually was testing this one out last night. This is definitely the loadout that I'm going to be using for this build. I might switch this for my demo Choke Clip Deliverance. and maybe use, I don't know, maybe a Gallonhorn here, or if we need a sword, lament or something like that. But I would like to keep this specific setup on because volatile rounds, I'm using Void Weapon. I believe I can throw on Void Surge if I need to, although this build is mainly focused on trying to spam my Vortex grenades a lot because I'm using Controverse Hold, so just dealing damage with those Vortex grenades will give me grenade energy. I also have double kickstart on, double grenade kickstart. Now 100 resilience is really important for this build because I'm not using Devour, so I want to be able to be as tanky as I possibly can be. I have 90 recovery, which is good, but mainly you want 100 resilience because the resilience stat is just so important now. We can go ahead and take a look at all of my fragments for this build. Now we are using Chaos Accelerant to overcharge the grenades, and we're also using Child of the Old God, so no Devour. Echoes, here are all my echoes that I'm using. Vortex Nade is really good, it just pulls everything in, and when they're overcharged they have a massive radius. And here are all of my mods. Let me just scroll down a little bit, and there you go. Again, this build is mainly focused on trying to get my grenade back. So I have Innovations, I have 3 bomber mods, I have Kickstart, Controverse Hold, and everything just to get my grenade back as much as possible. Let's go ahead and scroll down a little bit more. Here are the rest of my mods, and here are my weapons. Again, it is really important to also have a weapon with Demolitionist just in case you're not able to get that build loop going correctly, and if you need to restart, Demolitionist will help with that because you just get grenade energy for getting kills with a weapon with Demolitionist. And we can just go ahead and go down to my fashion as well. I went with something a little different on this build because I don't know, I just wanted to try something else. Try out a little bit different fashion. You may think it's ugly, but it's definitely different. I haven't seen anybody really with this type of fashion. So here are all my fragments, Jesus Christ, listen to me. Here are all of my ornaments and my shaders. I'm going to screenshot this if you would like to recreate it. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about my Starfire protocol build. Now, I don't really use Starfire. Honestly, I'm not even really a fan of it, but I can't deny just how powerful this build actually is. I was using this in Terminal Overload, and I was pretty much able to single-handedly DPS the boss down by myself, just staying in either in an Empowering Rift or in my Well of Radiance. And as you guys can see, I have really high intellect with this build, and I'm also using double Ashes to Assets, so any grenade kills are going to give me a super energy. This build is purely a DPS build. There's no other reason for this, because if I was going to go for Ad Clear, I'd probably either go with my Void build, my Strand build, or my Stasis build. This is just for DPS because I'm using Witherhoard. I also have a Hothead with Demo Explosive Light, so shoot a rocket, throw a grenade, shoot a rocket, probably throw another grenade, go to my Witherhoard, get my grenade back, throw a grenade, reload it, shoot a rocket. So you just keep cycling in those grenades with those rockets, and this build is just going to do crazy DPS. Okay, here's my fashion. I know Starfire Protocol is a pretty ugly exotic, but if you can kind of work with it as long as you're just willing to go either like all black or all white, because those are like the only 2 colors that really work with it. Maybe a little bit of yellow, but honestly black or white is probably your best bet. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at all my fragments as well. Is this one right here. Okay, all my my embers. Okay, and here are all of my mods. I went with Arc Weapon Surge again because I'm using an Arc Heavy weapon, and if I need to change this up, I can. I do have enough space in my legs, and I can also probably put like, I don't know, maybe Special Ammo Finder here, my helmet or something like that. But for right now, this is just the mods that I have in place, and of course this might change depending on what we need for the raid. All right, here are the rest of my mods. And in case you guys don't know how Starfire works, so it gives you 2 fusion grenade charges. It states that fusion grenades have an additional charge and recharge from empowered weapon damage. So that's either an Empowering Rift or your Well of Radiance. Fusion grenade kills grant Rift energy. Okay, so you really want to use a weapon that has tick damage, such as Witherhoard or Anarchy. Tag the boss with it and just start throwing your grenades. Use your heavy weapon. As soon as you get a grenade up, throw you another grenade, they'll probably ignite. Just keep that cycle going, which is why it's really good for weapons that damage over time. And lastly, we're gonna talk about my Stasis build. Now this is my crowd control build. Okay, I've been really working on this one because Stasis got hit pretty hard with the mod changes. There's no more elemental shards, which means that getting those stacks of charge of light, or armor charge as they're called now, is a bit harder with Stasis, but you can still make it work. Okay, you can still make it work. Now this build is focused around trying to have my Bleak Watcher turret out as much as possible, as well as freezing things with the Winter Bite exotic heavy glaive. Okay, now you would think, why not just use Osmiomancy gloves? Well, that's because I'm using triple grenade kickstart, and kickstart only works when your grenade is fully expended. And since Osmiomancy gloves give you double cold snaps, it's not truly expended because you always have a little bit of energy whenever you throw a grenade, because you have two grenade charges, right? So you can get it to work every now and then, but if you want it to work every single time, you just cannot use Ozymandias gloves unless you're going to use your cold snap grenades as actual cold snap grenades and not as a Bleak Watcher turret, because then yes, Ozymandias gloves are the obvious choice. Okay, we can go ahead and look at all of my fragments for this. All right, with the Torment, taking damage gives me grenade energy, you know, makes my stasis do more damage. The explosion, killing those frozen enemies, gives me class ability energy. And whenever I'm near frozen enemies, which I'm going to be a lot of, especially in a day 1 raid, enemies are just so tanky that you want to be able to freeze them and get that damage reduction while you're near them. Just in case you don't kill them, you still have some damage reduction while you're around them. All right, and here are all of my mods. Eye of Another World does stack when you have a stat that's over 100. So it's worth using even if you have like 100 discipline, 100 recovery, and whatever. It's just a flat boost to your cooldowns. So it just makes your abilities come back faster without having to get a kill or use a specific energy weapon like a Nezarec Sin with a void weapon. It's just a flat buff to ability regen. Alright, here are the rest of my mods. Triple kickstart, triple grenades. I just want to get my stasis turret out as much as possible and freeze things with my heavy glaive. This is just purely a crowd control build. Okay? And here are the rest of my weapons. I got demo chill clip. I also got demo frenzy on my gun. Again, just double demolitionist rolls on both of my guns. And then the new exotic glaive, you just shoot that stasis orb. It's just going to freeze everything on top of my stasis turret, and I have chill clip on my fusion rifle. This is purely a crowd control build. We can just go ahead and look at all of my fashion pieces. Not the greatest fashion, but I don't know. Eye of Another World has like a unique look to it, so I tried to make something work with it. If you guys like it, let me know. It's alright. It's not my greatest, but it's alright. I like it. Alright, boys, so there are all of my builds that I am bringing into the day 1 raid, Root of Nightmares. Hopefully me and my team get that contest mode completion. I'm really looking forward to it, and I have a really good feeling about this one. So let me know if you guys are competing in the day 1 raid, not in the race, but just trying to get that contest mode clear. And I wish you guys the best of luck if you are trying to get that clear. I hope to see you guys in the next video. Deuces.